Thank you, everyone. As we can see, the venture capitalism in 2024 has influenced a turbulent landscape. As we approach to 2025, we can see more uncertainty, but some surprise. As we can see at the beginning of the year, DeepSeek give us a big surprise. So what would be influence for the future for Asian markets? Let's welcome William to join us. William is a very active investor globally. He used to work for SoftBank in China and in India.
Hey, how's it
and
going?
he also works big IPOs like Alibaba. So William, we are really welcome you to join us today. And could you share us some of your experience as working in India and in China? What did you learn from this market, and which moment give you the thinking that you wanted to start up your own business, your venture capital? Please.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the most important things to kind of focus on is how can technology solve problems that weren't solvable before. So when we started investing in China in 2002, 2003, the economy was very, very different than today. So it's tech-driven transformation. So working on Alibaba IPO 05, 06 for the first IPO in 07, you're basically digitizing very traditional businesses and helping them be a lot more efficient, make a lot more money, and really open up initially cross-border trade, and then Alibaba moved on to do internal local trade. We started investing in India in 2005, and the internet was barely working. They're basically listservs, email lists, and we looked at companies like Naukri InfoEdge, which were doing listings, like job listings. So very, very, very basic. But for the first time ever, India, people could apply to jobs from across the country, not just the city where they're in. So we're very much focused on how do you leverage technology to drive economic transformation. And technology is a huge part of that. When I first started looking at blockchain in 2015, we were like, okay, what can we do with this? The same thing with AI. We started, I think Crunchbase named us #3 most active in AI in 2017. Now, mostly that was because, like today, everybody put the word AI into their company description. So technology is a tool, and we were looking at what kind of problems can we solve with this technology that were not solvable before. So we started investing 2010 with Orbit in China. We stopped investing in 2018, mostly because the China market was no longer emerging. So we started investing more in India, in Southeast Asia, in South Asia. Now we're in MENA. So we have 49 investments in MENA, as well as Africa and Latin America.
So what's your focus? Which industry now you are looking for the most of time?
Yeah, so if you think about China, the total consumer spend when we started investing in China was only 600 billion. Now it's somewhere around 6 trillion, right? So huge growth. In that time, the total market cap of all the tech companies combined was about 1.5 billion in like 2003, 2004. And when we stopped investing in China in 2018, it was 3.5 trillion. So 1.5 billion to 3.5 trillion. So we're looking at the similar type models in other emerging and growth markets around the world. So we think that India is a pretty, we've already done about 80 investments in India. We think that India is a great market. Southeast Asia, we also are quite positive on it. Some of the exits have not done well, but at least there are finally exits in Southeast Asia. And we're looking at MENA and Africa and LATAM as sort of the next frontier where we can take technology and focus on, we're software agnostic, so we focus on technology that helps people make more money, basically have a better quality of life, and digitizing very, very traditional industries like farming, supply chain, retail, financial services, education, travel, like commuting travel. So these are problems that China, over the last 20 years, we saw get solved. In the early days of China, you had cash on delivery. Now there's cash on delivery in all these other markets, and you're seeing this leapfrog effect from cash on delivery to digital payment. And so we're taking our experience, 20 years of scar tissue in China, and bringing that to local entrepreneurs and also international entrepreneurs in markets around the world.
So do you find any similarities and or difference from what you learned from China to outside of Chinese markets? Can you share us some of the stories?
Yeah, sure. So back in the day, you used to have like basically copy to China. So copy model from the US and then copy to China. But very, very, very quickly, that became like bring the model to China, but then localize it. So China had very different problems than the US. So it was basically an emerging growth market. So emerging growth problem needed an emerging growth solution. So now what we're doing is we're looking at the types of solutions for China, and can we borrow or copy from China to rest of world? Again, it's not copy paste. You can't just take a China model and copy and paste it into India or into South Asia or into the Middle East. You need to localize it.
Which is the most successful story about copy
so we have a
from
company,
China?
we have a company in Pakistan and now Middle East. So they're like the old Alibaba. So they started off as the newer Alibaba, digitizing small shops and small medium businesses selling food. Very basic stuff, selling grain. So they're digitizing all these little shops where people buy their daily necessities in the neighborhoods. And this is the same thing that Alibaba did. So in Pakistan, they started off by digitizing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of shops in Pakistan. They also added the older Alibaba model, which is cross-border. So cross-border trade for food. So Dastagir raised the largest Series A in the history of Pakistan. It was almost $50 million. Peter Thiel was in, Jam Fund came in, did their first investments in Pakistan. And the key thing is that the company is basically profitable, and they digitized both the Pakistan market, but they're also doing cross-border food trade. So 85% of their revenue is now cross-border. 75% is cross-border food trade between South Asia and the Middle East. Yeah.
So since you mentioned about Middle East, how do you think about investment here, especially for Qatar?
Yeah, so we think there's a huge opportunity here. It's a little bit different than China in that the number of people, the market is smaller, but there's still a very long list of challenges where you can drive economic transformation through digital. So both in terms of transforming the economy from like a fossil fuels-based economy over to a traditional tech-driven economy. Where you're not so reliant on resources to drive the economy. So we landed our first. We just opened up our first office in MENA, in Saudi Arabia, in November, and I moved to Riyadh. We're very excited about the opportunities here in Qatar. Specifically around areas where Qatar is strong: financial services, insurance, and also health. And so there's a lot of innovation here in those three areas. So we're looking at investing in companies here, helping them grow up in their home market, and then go cross-border across the region, potentially across the world. And in terms of the one similarity is that there's a lot of money here for local economic development, both here in Qatar as well as across the region. And there's a real desire to change the economy. You've got Vision 2030 in Saudi, and you got these vision projects, very similar to Chinese 5-year plans. So, I mean, a lot of people never read the Chinese 5-year plans. Highly recommend you read them. You should also read the Vision 2030, 2040 reports as well, because it really tells you where the government is focused. And because the government is bringing most of the capital into investment in innovation, it's very important to understand what their challenges, what their opportunities, where they see the growth opportunity for their economies.
So since you are talking about Chinese experience,
Yeah.
so what's happened in China about the VC capital market right now?
Yeah, so I think one thing most people don't understand, so when you had China VC grow significantly, so 2017, 2018, China was deploying $60 billion a year in venture. It was almost as high as the US. But the source of capital was very different. The capital was coming from the government. So 65, 75% of all the capital in VCs was coming from the government for economic development. And that worked out quite well. And so right now you're seeing a challenge is because the government has pulled back from funding VC. That's the first challenge. So local investment is down 70% this last year in China. The second challenge you see is that there's no real exit path. There hasn't been like an IPO track, and it's been very difficult to do M&A in China for the last 6, 7 years. So it's hard for LPs to back VCs if there's no real path to exit, and that's been a challenge. Now, on the other side, you've got politics. We don't get into politics, but international investment last year was down 90% year over year. So the market has changed, and the real focus used to be on consumer, maybe some SaaS. Right now, China is a global leader in deep tech, so you're going to see all the action around semiconductors, around health, like therapeutics, around AI. So for the China market, that's where the action is.
But on the other hand, China is investing deep tech. But on the other hand, China, the VC market, the innovation technology market, now it's shrinking. What will happen? Could you give us some of your forecasts?
Well, I think about half. I mean, it's pretty tough for VCs. You got about half of the VCs going out of business. I'm trying to help a lot of my friends get jobs in corporates. And the China economy is a little bit softer than it used to be. So one of the big changes is that government officials are now on the investment committees of VC. And these are generally traditional bankers, and they're not really into taking risk. They're like, okay, how much profit does the company have? And generally, most AI companies don't have profit. So it's increasingly hard for VCs to take risk in China, unless you're in one of those core sectors, like I mentioned, like semiconductors or therapeutics, like drugs, pharmaceuticals, or AI. So the real focus is on AI, and we're going to continue to see that. Now, the challenge with AI is most companies in China don't really pay for software. So the leading Chinese companies in AI, they used to be like the four horsemen, like SenseTime, Face++. They never actually got that much revenue. So they had multi-billion-dollar valuations, but almost no revenue. So one of the challenges we see is, how does the market mature from being venture capital driven to actually being revenue and sales driven? Because a lot of these VCs put money in at very high valuations, and now they're underwater. In fact, most of the VC investments in China are actually underwater. The value of the company is lower than when they invested. And it's very tough to get private capital, private LPs, to go into a VC that's underwater.
Yeah. So last, let's talk about DeepSeek. Yeah, that's a very hot topic globally. So as an investor yourself, how do you think about DeepSeek? Will it be a company or it will be change the AI ecosystem globally? Yeah.
So we were, I think TechCrunch, Crunchbase ranked us number 3 in the world in 2017 for AI investment. And I think we had like 5 companies or 4 companies back then. But that was just another phase when everybody put AI into their company description because it was hot back in 2017. And you saw that last year, and now it's LLMs this year and agentic AI this year. Okay, so the technology kind of comes and goes. For us, we invest, and we're pre-seed seed, so very, very early. And then we help our companies get sales. So we were investing in China. If you were not leveraging AI, you are not competitive. And this is going back the last 5, 6, 7 years. So all of our companies were leveraging AI. But the key thing is that AI, you can divide it into 4 areas. You can divide it into chips, and we're internet and software, so we don't do chips. You have the models, you have data, and then you have the industry understanding and solving for industry problems. So our focus has always been the data and the industry problems. We did not invest heavily in models, because we're quite early stage, and most of the models were coming out of the US. We don't invest in the US. And we actually pulled out of investing in China in 2018. So we're really focused on the data and the industry. So we're still quite active. Now, I think DeepSeek is very important because it's open source, and it's much less expensive. So it will enable entrepreneurs all around the world, in emerging markets and frontier markets and growth markets around the world, to have a competitive AI proposition. And their moat or their unfair advantage will be the data and the industry connects. But the models are getting a lot cheaper and basically opening it up versus ChatGPT and the others who are very, very expensive.
Yes.
So we're very excited about the opportunity for global AI built on much lower cost AI models.
Will be a good news for investors because with the low price, you can have the certain money. You can invest in more companies or more different areas.
So I'll give you an example. Like there's a U.S. company that analyzes text between companies and their customers and between governments and their citizens and drives real-time insights by analyzing the chat back and forth. Now, they had 15 languages and they sold. They sold for about, I think it was about $4 billion a couple of years ago. So we invested in a company called DXWand out of Egypt. And they're doing basically the same thing. They're analyzing text between government and citizen, corporate and consumer, actually corporate and employees, to drive real-time insights to help make the business more efficient, also drive more revenue. The key thing between this company and the company in the US is this company has Arabic. And they don't just have Arabic, they have all the different types of Arabic. So when we invested, they were doing like $7,500 a month in revenue, that's it. Since then, we helped them expand across the GCC. They have offices now in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Saudi, Riyadh, and their customers across the region. So again, similar types of problems, economic transformation through technology, and emerging growth markets around the world. So there still is like amazing tech around the world, and we're looking at those opportunities. And basically, they're China-inspired models, India-inspired models, and sometimes China and India founders, but global emerging growth markets.
So last, we would like to know as an investor, what the most important thing you would like the companies you are going to invest to know? Maybe you can share maybe 2 or 3 things you think are important for startups today. Last, as your final words.
We're very, very, very early stage investors. So we're generally not investing in product. We're mostly investing in the problem trying to be solved and the people who want to solve it. Because the product will change. I mean, pre-seed, seed, there's barely a product there. So the second thing is we're looking for people very passionate about the problem, also that they have the capability to actually solve for the problem, and then that the problem is big enough. So we go after if you analyze what people spend money on, they spend money on real estate, they spend money on food, they spend money on financial services, health, travel, both cross-border travel, but also commuting, and education. So we're invested in things that people spend money on. And then we also invest in things where people might not spend money on it, but it's very sticky, like entertainment and media. And for us, our investments, it looks like we invest in everything. That's because we do. Orbit is an ecosystem where we help our companies, after we invest, partner with each other. Now, we don't require anybody to work with each other, but we help our companies work with each other and also our corporate partners. So in Qatar, we're very happy to be partnered with QNB and QDB and QIA. Yeah,
big players.
Yeah, well, they're the big players here. We're also looking at health companies here. So one of the challenges that we're very, very passionate about is health. I don't know if you know this, but for the visitors to the Middle East, UAE has the highest rate of diabetes in the world. Between Qatar and Saudi, there's a diabetes rate in one province in Saudi of 60%, including the children. These health...
they're eating traditions or something?
Yeah. Well, it's a diet challenge. Yeah, a lot of French fries. So on the one side, Dastagir is looking at an order for 100 million kgs of potatoes for French fries into Saudi a year. And on the other side, we're investing in companies that digitize health. We have a company here that's hopefully going to be making an announcement here at Web Summit called MedIQ, which started in Pakistan. And now Saudi Arabia is over half of their revenue, digitizing hospitals, digitizing clinics, digitizing the doctors, the pharmacies, and even digitizing the patients and their families. So an end-to-end health platform. Just in the last 2 years, they have like 1,100 clinics digitized in Saudi and 4 hospital groups. So we're very excited about these type of opportunities. So very traditional challenges, but through technology, made much, much more efficient and effective.
Thank you, William. Really appreciate for sharing today. And I know this is your second year for Qatar event, and we are looking forward to see you next year and sharing us more stories. And of course, we are welcome you come back to China again.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone. So, thank you.